Well, hello everyone. Now, you may remember the last time I was telling you about my personal favorite motorcycles, and there was also, I think, a scooter or two tossed in there. Now, I'm not saying they were the best, I'm just saying it actually happens to be ones that I like very much. So obviously, the next list of 10 is going to be bikes that I thought were absolutely horrendous. Of course, this is my own personal choice, and there's a couple on the list that I only put them because how I felt when I rode them, and I'll explain as we go along. And these were bikes actually that I still like today, but just not for me. So let's begin right away. The first bike on the list is a Harley-Davidson Ultra Glide. Yes, I'm not a Harley fan, but actually this is a bike that I like. 2 years ago, I took one out for a bit. I went into the mountains, and this is where the problem lies, especially here in Taiwan. The mountain roads are very narrow. Now, I suppose if I lived in a place like Australia, Canada, or the United States, where there are very long roads you can go on, I can understand the appeal to them because it is very comfortable, it rides very nice. I thought it was fantastic on stretches of road that I had like that. But in the mountain roads where they were narrow, not so much. So I actually woke up in the morning and I thought, okay, I'm going to buy it today. I had the money with me for the deposit. I went to Harley-Davidson and I looked at it and I went, no. Still, it is a bike that I like. Maybe one day, if I'm living someplace else, or I'm going to do touring in, I don't know, Australia, right? Okay, at number 9, a Ural. A Ural made in Kazakhstan. Soviet bike that has been around for many years. I could understand the appeal to them, especially the sidecars. I've owned sidecars before. They were a lot of fun. As I mentioned in the first video, where I was talking about my personal favorites. But the Ural one, some of these bikes are a little bit hit and miss. And the more recent ones that I rode, it felt like I was just riding an old motorcycle. Didn't like it at all. At number 8, Yamaha Dragstar 150. This is a bike that maybe you have never seen before. It was a bike that was made by Yamaha in Taiwan for sale in Taiwan. They did export a few of them, but there were a few problems with them. Now, I've owned 2 of them, and I enjoyed them immensely. The first problem is, well, actually, the only problem is that engine. The engine is a fantastic engine. The engine is in a SR150 bike from Yamaha. Great engine. But the engine is a little bit underpowered for the size of this bike and the weight of this bike. Sometimes, well, if I can put it this way, if this bike was a boat, it probably couldn't get out of its own wake. That was really the only problem. Still, it's a bike that I enjoyed, but that engine. The bike itself, the Dragstar 150, was a little bit of a sales disaster for Yamaha, and I'll prepare a video to talk about the reasons why it was a sales disaster for them in the future. Number 7 is a Zero. Yeah, the all-electric motorcycle. It's quick, there's a lot of torque, and it is fun to ride when you get that power. If you live in a city, I think it's fine, but if you want to do any touring on it, forget it. I tried once, and I found that the first problem was finding a charging point. Second problem is that the battery range, when you're doing really high speed, drains quite quickly. Those were the 2 issues with them. And also, there were a few things that I kind of missed, like sound. It sounds like a finish shave. And also changing gears. Not exactly for me. Number 6 is an odd one. Because I was kind of throwing around, is it a car? Is it a motorcycle? Or did a car just have sex with a motorcycle, and they came up with this. Number 6, the Can-Am Spyder, made by Bombardier. I don't know. If you're going to buy a car, get a car. If you're going to get a motorcycle, get a motorcycle. I just felt that the engineers at Bombardier one day were like, let us create a car, but we don't have enough parts, so we'll make the front part of the car, and then we'll do the French-Canadian thing and put a motorcycle on the back. That's how I looked at it. I just thought, no. Not at all. Number 5 is another 3-wheel bike This is a three-wheel bike. The Harley-Davidson Trike, or as I call it, the super-powered mobility scooter. Now, I didn't like riding it at all. I thought it was absolutely hideous. I can understand if somebody has, let's say, dexterity problems, or they're walking with a cane, or something like that, or they have a wooden leg. I can understand the appeal. For myself, I didn't like it at all. I'm not a big fan of these three-wheeled motorcycle ideas like the Can-Am and the Harley-Davidson Trike. If given a choice, I would rather have a Reliant Robin or a Morgan three-wheeler. Not a big fan of them. Number 4 on the list is the Vespa Primavera. Vespa. I admit, they're very nice-looking scooters, but overpriced because you're really paying for a name. The Vespas today are much better than they used to be, only because most of them are made in places like Vietnam and Thailand. I think that Vietnam is the largest factory for them. For a long time, they were also made here in Taiwan for many years. Also, India made some as well. Not a fan of like that whole kind of vintage thing. Okay, I get the whole thing, Roman Holiday, that movie, but move on with it, guys. If you're going to buy a scooter, there are so many better choices. A Yamaha Force, for example, Yamaha S-Max, a Yamaha T-Max. Way better choices. Way better choices. Number 3 on the list is a bike, or a brand rather, that made a name for itself for two-stroke off-road bikes. Jawa, or Yawa, as some people might say. But this is the Jawa Perak, which has nothing to do with the Jawa company, or Yawa company, or however you want to say it. It's just one of these attempts to make a vintage bike using a brand name that goes back for many years when they did make these fantastic bikes that came out of the former Czechoslovakia. Rolling piece of junk. I thought it was absolutely hideous. And you could just feel the quality. You could just feel the lack of quality in this bike. Avoid it, avoid it, avoid it. Number 2 is another scooter from a Taiwan company called Gogoro. The picture that you're seeing right now is the Gogoro 2 Plus, but I'm going to put the other Gogoros in that category as well. Now, this is an electric scooter. Now, the one thing I do like about it is that you don't actually have to charge the batteries. We have these stations here in Taiwan where they're all over the place, where when the batteries go low, you can just take out the batteries and put 2 new fresh ones in. Now, the thing that I'm not a fan about these electric bikes or electric scooters is the distance that you see on the display is never the distance that you actually get. Every time that I have used a Gogoro 2 Plus, putting fresh batteries in, now from my home to my office, it is exactly 11.5 kilometers. 11.5 kilometers. Every time that I put fresh batteries in, it shows that I have a distance of 97 kilometers. But when I get to my destination, the batteries seem to go down to 79 kilometers. That's the first thing I don't know. So where it just vanished into thin air. The other thing that I don't like, and this happened to me twice on these Gogoros, when the battery shows that it has 12% power less, or it's around 15 or 12%, it goes into slow mode. So 1 minute, you're doing, 80 kilometers an hour. The next moment, it goes down to 25, which is not exactly safe when everybody else around you is doing 80 to 100. Don't like that one at all. No. Gogoro is a funny company. I mean, they've tried launching overseas a few times. They did have a project going in Germany, France, and Spain, which went bankrupt after maybe less than a year. The last time I was back home in the Netherlands, I got off the train, and at the train station in Almere Port, there was a Gogoro battery swapping station. And I was asking a friend of mine, when did they install them? He said they've been installing them for like the last few months. When is it supposed to go online? He said, we don't know yet. And then I found out after I returned to Taiwan that they were all taken away. The project just never happened. They're trying to launch in some other countries, but let's see. At number 1, the Classic 500 from Royal Enfield. Not only do I like the way the bike looks. I will give you that. But it is a Royal Enfield. The Lada of motorcycles. The Hugo of motorcycles. I think they are just absolutely horrendous quality. I know the fanboys are going, oh, it's a great bike and everything. But no, they're not. I'm sorry. They're just not. They're just not a good quality bike. Like the other Royal Enfield products, they're just not good quality products. I mean, the words India and quality control are something that I would never put together in the same sentence. They're just bad. Period. Now, some people would argue that the latest version of the Classic, which is the Classic 350, is a much better bike. We'll tell that to the 7 people who have contacted me in the last month to say they're not, and they're waiting to get them fixed. This is how bad it is. And this was a problem that I had read about later on. Now, the one that I had was running fine until around 9,500 kilometers. After 9,500 kilometers, all the problems started happening, including a headlight falling off on the expressway doing around 87 kilometers an hour. Yes, the headlamp fell off. First time in my life that this ever happened to me. It's the first time in my life I've ever heard of a headlamp falling off a motorcycle. Really? Are you serious? They vibrate like crazy, and they're just, the whole Classic thing is, let me express it this way. Would you go and buy yourself a Classic television? Of course not. Would you go and buy yourself a Classic telephone? Not a plastic one, made of Bakelite. Of course not. I mean, the whole Classic thing is great for guys that have man buns and all that, but honestly, it's not a great motorcycle. It's not a great brand. They're a silly company, and they're a really hardcore legacy company just trying to build on the legacy that they once had. We're 2023. I expect a bike in 2023 to ride like a bike in 2023. It could look like it did in 1955 or 1953 or 1940. I don't care, because they look nice. But at least make it ride like a modern bike. Even the Classic 350 that I took out, I wasn't impressed. Not at all. Anyway, I don't know if you agree with me on the choices that I have. If you do, leave it in the comments section below. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you very, 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 too many varies soon. Bye-bye.